Hey, good morning, Maisha. And good morning, everybody. My name is Samantha Mirabal. I'm with Melco's application team, and I'm here today to do our DesignShop Talk. I think it looks like we've got all our channels fixed, so we're back live on both Facebook and YouTube, whereas the last few weeks we've only been on YouTube. But it looks like that's been fixed up, so we're good to go. If you have questions while we're live, please type them in on the comments, and I should see them pop up on my other screen. Don't send them privately. I don't see those until much later. Hi, good morning, Georgia. Thank you guys for joining. All right, so I'll start off with the questions that we got ahead of time, and we can kind of go from there. So like I said, if you have questions, type them in the comments, and I'll kind of be looking off to the side to see what trouble we can get into today. All right, so let's see. All right, let me get DesignShop up. All right, so the first question was trim lettering, how to use the option only when specified. All right, so first off, the trim options in lettering. Trims. All right, so I'm going to zoom in on this just because and double click on it to bring up the property box. Now, trim lettering, you've got only when specified, trim between letters, trim between words. So if you want every single trim between each letter, you would set that one. If you don't care about the between each letter and you want them to be on between words, you'd select that one, but only when specified. Let's talk about that one, since that's what the question was. So only when specified is specifically looking at your properties over here to decide when it's specified. When do I trim? When do I do something? All right. So when is that? Well, here, auto trim, the trim length is 32 points. All right. So what does that mean? It means if from where one letter ends, okay, so from where this letter ends, which is where the red X is, to where the green circle is, which is where the letter R starts. So if that distance between there and there is bigger than this number, whatever that number is. So what I currently have this set to is 32. Then it's going to trim. Okay, only when specified. So we'll trim over that. If it's under that, it's going to leave the connecting stitch. So it's going to leave the thread. So that's kind of the toggle, whether it's going to trim or not. All right. So other things to consider, you know, if you're going to leave connectors between all this, then you got to be careful that you have your tie-ins set off, right? Generally, I like 20. So if something's bigger than 20, I don't want to grab my little scissors out and trim it manually. I don't like doing that. Some people like it, find it soothing. I'm not one of those people. So I would rather it trim for me. And 20 is like visually what looks good to me. So things smaller than 20, I don't notice, or most of my clients don't notice, so I leave them be. It just leaves the little small connecting stitches over that. They are an eyesore to me. What is that kind of switch? It's personal, right? So each of us are going to have what we find to be acceptable or not. Some people hate all connector stitches and they want them all gone. Other people don't mind really long ones, and if they don't like it, they'll trim it out manually. Whatever. Okay, so yeah, only when specified, between words, between letters. Those are all kind of the things you have available to you. And thank you guys for joining. I see a bunch of comments, so let me back up. Lorena, yes, all the videos and links to them are on, we got you a link to where they're all there. They're all up on the YouTube channel, but there's also on the Melco service site, on that FAQ, there's a list of all of them, so you can get the links directly there. And Megan in California, and Loving Heart Creations. Hi, everyone. And Antoine, hey, thanks for joining today. All right, so let's see. Any other questions typed in that I missed? Not yet. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. All right, flat fill versus standard fill. Okay, so, and good morning, Scott. They're kind of this, in some degree, they're kind of the same thing, kind of. One is specific to, all right, so let's go look at it. So I'm going to make this big. All right, so now I've got something with fill on it. All right, and it's no longer trims. We're talking about fills. So I'm going to change the words. Okay, so I've got some lettering It's really big, so I've got it's of a fill type, right? So you can see all the fill stitches in here. So depending on what you want to do with that fill, you can go into the properties, and typically speaking, you notice we've got these splits. So stitches are running one direction, two directions, and then it completely changes directions for this little arm here, right? So I'm just calling those splits. It depends on how it's digitized, but just for argument's sake, right? So it's there. You have multiple stitch directions digitized. So with a traditional fill, that's what you can do. You can add these splits. So a standard fill, you can have multiple stitch directions and things like that. Well, in lettering, when you come over here and you change it to a flat fill, it's flattens it all out. So there's no longer any splits, and all there's one stitch direction across it all. Okay, so that's kind of what a flat fill does for you, is you're going to get rid of all of that, all the splits. You have one stitch direction, and it's all you have there. Whereas on a regular fill, you can add different patterns, things like that. I've never actually tried to see if on a flat fill I can apply patterns. Yeah, so on a flat fill, I can still apply patterns to it. So if you want to put some patterns, but all the stitch directions is one stitch direction. Okay, so that's all your flat fills doing for you. All right, let's see. And I think this is a flat fill, right? So it's all it is one stitch direction. I don't think you can see it, but one stitch direction of sewing. So yeah. Let's see. With embroidery fonts that are purchased online, when using the font for hats, how do I make it so center out? Well, you've got to pull in the letters and arrange it to be center out. So let's see. Let me go open a font. No. Where do I have those things saved? My designs, things I've bought. You can see my super non-creative. I don't even remember what any of these are. Let's see. Let's do... Those are small letters. These are large letters. Large A. Insert. I'm just randomly picking things now, just to have multiples. All right. Well, I just picked random letters. Okay. So what you would have to do to make this so center out is I would literally have to arrange this. So this letter sews first, then this letter, then this letter. So what do you do for that? You take these and you can drag them around, right? So you'll notice as I'm dragging these around, this is the order it sews in. So right now it'd be the Q, then the A, then the S. Well, if I don't want that, I'd select in my project view over here and drag that one up. So now it's going to sew the A, and then the Q, and then the S. So when you're bringing these in, you just have to arrange them so that they are sewing in the order you want them to. Okay, because they're each digitized one letter at a time, so it's just a matter of positioning them. Now don't forget you have other tools available to you here just for positioning purposes. So you can do this evenly spaced thing, you can do center them along the horizontal line, you can jam them all to the bottom, all to the top. So however you want, you can arrange them, and these little alignment tools help. So all of that is you select your elements first, and then you can position them. Now keep in mind, if these are separate expandeds, like where it's broken up into two multiple pieces, in those cases, so let's pretend this is one character. So the A and the S are actually one character. So what you would need to do to keep them together and to not move relative to one another is you need to group them. So if I group those two together, now when I select these guys and say align, it keeps those positioned relative to one another when I'm using my alignment things. Okay? Whereas if I ungroup that, I'll show you the difference. So ungrouped, now when I select them all and then use these features, now they all move. Okay? Undo, undo. So like if I were to say up to top, now all the letters move to the top or to the bottom or to center or evenly spaced, however you want to do it. Okay? All right. so there is using built-in fonts or built-in or purchase fonts. All right. So I haven't researched, but in DesignShop Pro, to digitize chenille or a furry look, do you need a special machine for it? So that's kind of an interesting question. So to do a true chenille, you need a chenilling machine. Okay, so there are combo machines out there, but it's a specific machine that does that effect, that creates the chenilles, the loops. All right. Now, with that said, you can absolutely do a faux chenille look with embroidery, right? So we've got a lot of resources that will get you some links to that show you sample files. It has the style files attached to it, guidelines. I think there's even some sample files that you can sew to be able to run a design and make it look like it's got that raised texture. So there, yes, you can absolutely do it. And there's the link that we're posting it for you to get that look. Now, if you're going for a very strict, like the Letterman jackets that have the really specific loop look, that's a chenilling machine that's done with that. So it's a different technique, but you can get pretty nice representation using the faux chenille that we've got you a link for there. Now, other techniques you can always use. I've seen some people find towels and do a straight applique and use the actual towel material as like an applique fabric to do a faux chenille look as well. So that's another thing to ponder. It looks pretty cool. So, but that's another way you can do it. Somebody typed something in. Let me back up and make sure I don't miss them. Is a 3D puff font ready, or do you have to do anything when you embroider? So I'm pretty sure we have a video on using those 3D puff fonts, but there are, so let's see. Puff. Oop, that's not spelling puff. P-U-F-F. So if I go into the properties, go to styles, down here, puff alphabet. That's not it. Right there, puff alphabet. And if I apply that, that will set this up with all the settings necessary for puff. So I just selected it, told it to be puff alphabet, the item I have selected, and hit apply. So you can do that with any of those puff ones. So if I come over here and instead of that one, let's say, let's make that puff industrial script. And again, double click on it, go to the styles, change this to alphabet, selection, apply. Okay, so it's really easy, quick and easy to use. We did get you a link to the overview and the videos that go over the puff, but yeah, they're a lot of fun. All right, any others typed in before I jump back to my can stuff? So that was all the ones typed in. All right. Varsity letters with applique. So I assume you just mean big letters as an applique. So all you would want to do is, first off, you get your art, right? So I don't have any art per se of a big letter, but so let's see. Let's say we're going to be winners, and let's do the athletic block. And let's say I want it to be 8 inches tall, which clearly I don't want to do this as a fill like this. I want this to be an applique, because as a fill, before I fix it all, we're at 31,000 stitches. That's kind of annoying. So I'm going to take this, and just to have me some art, I'm going to go convert to vector. And let's look at what it created for me. Oh, good. Just a flat. So this makes it really easy. All right, so I have some art. So typically, do you need to do it this way? No, you can go get whatever art you want for the lettering that you want, right? So I can select this guy, and a few things. I can come over here, hold, and to use this guy, change element from one type to another, and just tell it to be an applique, and say add. All right, so that will automatically add me an applique file in here. All right, so it's got placements. Now notice on it, the placement line is really close to the edge. So that works really well if you're using a plotter or a laser or something to pre-cut your fabrics. If you're cutting them by hand, and unless you're really close and really good, which I'm not, that doesn't work too well if you're cutting them by hand in the hoop. So what I would suggest is if you're going to do it, you know how you work, right? You can come into the properties, double click on the shape, come into Applique, and right here it has inside, outside. So notice you can move this, maybe. Why can't I move it? Is it set to auto somewhere? That's magic. Yeah, there it goes. All right, so I can change it, make it to be whatever you want, and it's going to move those lines around for you. I would suggest always making both of these match. All right, so you'll notice now I've got more room closer to the edge. So it shifts the satin stitch around so that depending on how close you cut, you can do it. Now you can, if you don't have the version, so Applique is a version dependent tool. You can see how quickly you created that, so that's cool. But if you don't have that, okay, then what? Well, you can always digitize this manually, right? So you can trace this. I'm gonna set up the file quick by doing select the vector, hold my shift key down, and click on this walk. So that creates a placement stitch, right? So there's my placement stitch. Then I can copy and paste, give it another color, change that to a bean. That's gonna sew down the fabric. Again, Control C, Control V, give it another color. I want this to be the tackle stitch, so that zigzag that holds it down. So I need to change this from a bean stitch to a single line center. So I'm going to do that by holding my Control key on the keyboard and then clicking on single line. So Shift adds, Control changes. All right, so now that I have this, I'm going to make that tackle, and let's make it wider. And notice I got some cleanup work to do down here because that won't do. So I'm just going to split those points by selecting that point and hit split, just because I don't need that zigzag going all the way down there. All right, so then the last thing you need is your cover stitch. So Control C, Control V, move it to the end. And again, Control, click on the single line, and let's make that 40. And again, I'm gonna have to clean up this edge because that's no good down there. So I got an extra point. Let's move this guy down here. Change the stitch direction lines there and there. That's better. Anyway, so you can play with it however you want it to look. So I gotta clean it up over there too, but yeah. Okay, so you can create it manually. You can use the kind of auto tool, so that's fun. Any questions on that? This is gonna bother me. I'm gonna have to go clean it. Hang on. So I'm gonna delete that point. I'm gonna move this guy down. Yeah, and then stitch direction like that, and like that. Delete the stitch direction, and that stitch direction. I gotta straighten them out some more to make them match. But anyway, it's closer. All right, so let's see, what other things do we have? Someone typed in, I talked about Sizer. What is it and how does it work? Sizer is just a real, it looks like this. So it looks like DesignShop with fewer buttons. Okay, so it'll let you rotate, scale. It's got limited functionality, but it's free. You can put it on any of the other computers to do some limited functionality changes at other machines that don't have the full digitizing software. So it's just a free version of this, so it has less capabilities to it. So I think you could scale, size, rotate. I forget. I don't use it, so I always have to reopen it. I'm not even sure if I can make this version. Let's see if I can. Security, can I make this one be Sizer? No, I can't even make the version I have installed on this computer be Sizer. So I would have to go find it and to be able to show you. But we did get you the Sizer download link, so you can go play with it and see it. But it's, you know, it looks the same. It just has less capability in it. Okay. Let's see. Can I convert Is the convert to vector available in DS11? Yeah, this is DesignShop 11. So, yes. That's what I'm demoing for you, is DS11. Convert to vector, I believe, is level dependent, so I'm not sure it's available in the lettering. Actually, why don't we go look? Because I can change the version that I have here. So let's see, tools, security, product levels. You guys don't have this. Okay, thank you. No. Okay, I'm gonna restart it. It's gonna restart it in lettering. So let's see. Right click, property. Okay, right click. Yeah, so it's not available in lettering, but it'll be available in the higher levels. So I think you gotta have vector or higher for that. So yeah, I think you gotta have vector for it. I'm gonna go back to this one. It's my jam. Okay, go away. No. Okay. All right, let's see, what other questions do we have? Do you get any? It doesn't look like I missed any typed in. All right. So let's see, what else do we have sent in? What's the secret to doing small lettering? So we've got a bunch of really good videos and articles for you on that. So what I would suggest is we're going to get you the link to those small lettering resources. There's a video, several in fact, I think, that have been done, and some of them are quite detailed of all the different techniques, what you do with pull compensation, using stock lettering, and digitizing specific for small. So I think Scott or whoever's putting in the links, I think the link you gave them is not the right one for small lettering. So on YouTube anyway. I think that's the, anyway, so you got that. So we'll get you a link to all the small lettering resources. Like I said, we've done quite a lot of videos on that, and there's a nice article. How much does it cost to upgrade DS from V10 to V11? I have no idea. I'm not involved in pricing. So what I would suggest for that is to get in touch with your sales guy or gal. If you don't have one or don't know who that is, you can always email sales@melco.com and contact them that way to see. But that's what I would suggest doing, is just reaching out to your salesperson and asking them, because I think it depends on what level of V10 you have and what you want to go to. So, you know, if you have Pro and you're going to Pro, that's one. If you have Light and you're going to Pro, that's another price. So I think it just depends on what feature, you know, what you're going from and to. At least that's my understanding. All right, so let's see, what else do we have? Can I create a word in blue? So you want two outlines on a word. Sure. So there's a bunch of ways you could do it. It's really, how do you want to do it, right? So let's see, make it a little bigger. Nope, not answering that. All right, so if I select text, I can hold the Shift key down and click on Add and click on the single line center. That will give me some outlines. Okay, so I'll have one set of outlines there. Let's make it a color we can actually see. There we go. All right, so what can we do from this point, right? So it really is, how do you want it to be digitized? Do you want, you know, the two outer ones and then a third one going over the top? All right, so in that case, what I would do is, I convert this stuff to vector all the time. I'm sure there's other ways, there's better ways to do it, but I like this. So I go to Object, Offset, Outline, and this is another one I use all the time, this feature, where you can come in here and tell it to make it 20 points bigger. Okay, so that one's bigger now. So now I can take this, do Shift, click on that, and now I've got a line. I can also then take the same shape and then say Object, Offset, Outline, and I made it 20 bigger, so now I'm going to make it, not 400, 40 smaller. So negative is 40, negative 40. So again, I can select this, hold that vector, hold my Shift key down and click on that single line, and then let's delete the vector. All right, so now I've got three things. Is this how we want it to sew? Probably not, but let's fix it up. So I'm going to take those two, I'm going to make them sew first, and then I'm going to get this one. So if you want that to be red, this one to be blue, and then this guy to be white, and let's make that guy wider so it actually covers the edges. Cool. There we go. So now it's overlapping both of those ones underneath it, and I've got a tricolor outline. So again, like I said, I always do it off the vector, mainly because I like it. You can digitize it manually, you can create it, the art, and then have it trace it directly off the art. Gosh, I can think of a bunch of ways to do it. So another one, let's see, offset. Let's do -40, shift click. Oh, I didn't need -40, I needed -20. So another way to get to this is select your vector, right click, operations, offset outline, -20. Okay, shift click. So shift, click on that. Again, choose the vector, object, offset outline. I'll make it bigger this time, so positive number, 40. Shift click. And we're going to put those guys first, and then the outline. Notice that one I probably want to clean up a little bit, but that's easy enough to do. Again, you can red, blue, white. Yeah. So pretty straightforward. Can the main letter be really thick like that? Yeah, you can make it thicker. So let's say I want that to be 40. So I can make it super thick and have skinny little borders. So if those are skinny little borders, if you want them sticking out more or less, so how can I adjust that without having to redigitize it all? Well, right now it's at 20 points, so maybe we make this, we want that border to be wider, so let's make that 40. But I don't need so much overlap, right? I can come over here and say single line, let's do custom. I'm always guessing at which direction it goes. So if I want it to stick out more or less, I can just skew this one way or the other. All right, so Kathy's typing, so give me a sec to read what she's got for me. So yeah, so let's say I don't want it that sticking out that much. Want it 50-50, want it skinnier. Key is to make sure you have a little bit of overlap and then move it accordingly. So the background where yours is gray, you want it to be all blue. Oh, okay, so cool. So rather than having this as a single line, which is what I currently have it as, you want that as a fill. So I'm going to come over here and convert my single line to a fill by, or maybe you want it applique. All right, let's do it as a fill. Like I said, I can do this 100 ways. So to change this from my single line to a fill, I'm going to hold Control because that's going to change it from one to another. If I want to leave that satin border and add a fill, I'd hold Shift. Okay, so I'm going to hold Control because I'm getting rid of this, and I'm going to click on my single line. So now I've got a fill. So I've got my fill. So I've got a fill. I want more overlap, so I'm going to go do an object offset. So offset outline, let's say 7. It's probably more than I need, but I like it. I don't like gaps between things, so I like a little bit of overlap. So I've got that, and then I've got a third border, and then a fat little satin stitch right there. So I want that one sewing there, so there's the order. It's going to sew my fill, then the red, and then the white. Kathy, does that help you? Hopefully it does. All right. What other questions do we have? Making sure it's not Melco texting, so we're good. All right. Ah, excellent. I'm glad that helps. All right. So when saving a design in a different format, the hoop goes back to center and does a single stitch. Is that something I can turn off? That is an artifact of the library that's used to create PES, the PES formats. I know it's been updated in the 11.3 software, so if you've got the latest 11, then that should go away. Other than that, it's the library that generates the PES is what's creating it, so there's no on-off switch short of updating the software to, the latest update. Okay. Well, let's see. What other questions do we have? All right, so those are all the ones I had sent in ahead of time. So, yeah, the latest DesignShop V11 has fixed the PES thing. So, yeah. Good. All right, any other questions? Kind of scanning through to make sure I didn't miss anything, and as I was rambling. Hope I don't ramble too much. My AC went out in this building, so it's just coming back on, and it's Florida, so it's going to be hot all day, so it's never going to catch up. So, all right, doesn't look like I missed anything. Any other questions before we call it a day? I hope you guys enjoy these. I hope they're helpful. I'm currently wildly entertained with my new toy back there. So, yeah, that's been my latest entertainment. Doing stuff like this where I'm printing stuff and then embroidering on it. It's so much fun. Anyway. You guys have a fantastic weekend. We will be back next week. And I post in a few of the groups asking for questions. If you have any other things, you can send them into applications@Melco. We'll get them that way as well. Keep a list going, and when you see the little title sheet like this pop up in some of the Facebook groups, type in your questions on those, and we'll add them to the list. I check generally till about an hour before I'm live. So if you give me something really hard, an hour or really soon before I'm live, hopefully I'll still be able to get it in my little hour, but if not, it might have to go on next week. So when you think about it, type them in as early as you can. So if I have to make up examples, I have a little bit of time too. All right, y'all, have a fantastic weekend. I gotta go deal with sick children, so that's my fun. So, all right, I will talk to you guys next time. Have fun sewing. Bye, everyone.